once again that time in central Wisconsin. It's cold out. Weatherman says we got 5 to 15 million inches coming on Saturday. So it's time we shoot something other than automotive here. Take a break. We're going to take a look at my John Deere 1025R. Go through some of the modifications I've done on it. Things that have come in really handy, things that I really enjoy, things that John Deere should probably just give you for the $40,000 it costs for one of these sons of guns with a cab on it. But then we're gonna go ahead and get the snowblower on, show you some tips and tricks what I do, and some modifications I've made to that as well, because well, that's what we do here on Beyond the Manual, is we modify just about everything we own. So let's get to it. It's not getting any warmer out. So I'm going to bring this up here just to show you a few things, and one because I have a bad back and these parts are pretty heavy. So the order I do this in, you can see I have the snowblower head unit basically on a standard pallet, and really all we want off right now is this guy. This is depending on which 1025R setup you have, you either have a tractor with a 3-point front hitch assembly on it, which takes the big, heavier, the wish I had better snowblower, or you have this guy. And this is kind of like the front hitch that bolts, I guess not bolts really as much as it pins into the front of the standard tractor option set. And then that's ultimately what the carrier for the snowblower, or I suppose plow, this piece is pretty universal here. It also has the up-down hydraulic ram on it. But anyways, that's what that pins into. So that pins in to the tractor, and then that pins into that. So the way this works best for me is I'm going to get that on the tractor. And then I'm actually going to put this whole assembly back. I got to think of how this works now. Thinking. Because it's a musical game of like, you need to take the loader arms off to put that on, but I still need the forks because the forks are heavy, so I still want them in there, over there. So this is kind of the first year of doing this with the storage container. So let me think about what order to do all this in, and we'll come back to it as soon as I have something resembling a thought process or a plan this morning. What we're doing now is getting the loader off here. This is kind of a little bit of a dance in this. We need to leave the hydraulic lines hooked up a little bit while we get this thing fully rested on its stands, and there you go. Whole bunch of different ways people say to do this, the right way or wrong way. Honestly, I've never had an issue with the loader stand as long as it's out far enough to support itself. So this is where we'll get out. We'll take a look at the hydraulics, disconnect that, then we can get out of here. Tight spaces. Whoever designed this, me, Didn't quite give her enough. But this is an interesting model. I think this is a 2023, but don't quote me, it might be in late 2022. But one of the things I wanted was, this is actually pretty slick. This is the one arm, I guess, one disconnect hydraulic lever. I forgot what John Deere calls this. But this tractor, since it was an older one before that model came, also has these hydraulic connections down here. Now, that might be useful for a future modification, but for now they're just hoses that go from there back to the bottom. And then we have the hoses that run the loader. Now, we also have, it's been a hot minute. Oh, here we go. I have them just Velcroed here. I like Velcro on a lot of stuff. But we do also have some auxiliary hydraulics. I had them added to the loader just in case. So one end is right there, and this end would, you know, Velcro, come down, connect. And I do have the auxiliary hydraulic ports right there. Currently I have the rear plugged in. One day I might do like a Summit hydraulic diverter, so I can have both plugged in all the time. So far though, I haven't had a big use of that, but we'll show that when we'll show more of that when we're out of here and in the daylight. Right now, kind of see how the loader arms are down on the ground, and we're basically out of the support pockets, so we can go ahead and disconnect these. I'm just gonna, oh no, my fan, get out in there, fan. There we go, done, fixed. So I'm just gonna work that back and forth, relieve some of that hydraulic pressure. Now, do I still have my dirty sock in here? Yeah, that's right, you heard me right. Oh, I don't have my dirty sock in here. Normally I try to keep an old sock or a rag in this, just to wipe down these hydraulics when I take these off. So the way this works is, see that slides forward. So slide that forward, lift that up, and those pins are, could use a little anti-seize. Those pins right there probably could use a little anti-seize and be cleaned up. We'll do that in spring. You might notice this connector here. Like I said, use a lot of times. I use what I have. I had these connectors, and what this is, I will show this now. But basically, what I wanted was, I don't know why John Deere doesn't do this either, but I wanted a nice visual level indicator. Like, I don't like the rod that a lot of these come with. It just never tracks right. But what I did is I have an old used proc sensor here. I have what they call a beam clamp pressed on there pretty hard, stop nut, and I just bent this threaded rod. So when this bucket is fully level with the ground, those nuts make contact with the end of the procs, and they light up a little LED I have inside there. This is just a sunshade, because again, using what I have. I might at some point put an indicator in the cab, but this is good enough if I'm doing some soil or groundwork. I can see that through the windshield just fine inside there. So let me get this contraption out of here. Let me get myself out of here. Don't want to forget to unplug that. And yes, this is just, I'm only using 2 prongs. It just runs 12 volts through that, but there. And I typically just make sure to hang this, we're on a there, that fitting there, so we're not putting pressure on, undue pressure or anything, and it'll sit there all winter just like that. All right, let me squeeze back into this tiny opening, and we'll back this sucker out. And I think once we have it back on the driveway, I'll go over all the modifications I've done to the tractor for you guys. I just quickly want to point out before we open the hood on this thing, this has got to be the stupidest, dumbest hood latch assembly in the world. Why can't we just have a button? What is someone going to do? Steal the alternator out of this tractor? I don't understand. It's just, it's dumb. There we go. I did want to show you a few things in here. One of them being this switch assembly. This is actually a pretty cool unit. So this is the power side of things. Let me go show you the control for this. That'll make more sense. So I have quite a few accessories I drive off this tractor. One being my strobe light for when I'm snow blowing out in the road, whatever the case might be. I also have, yes, that is a camera. I'll talk about that. I also am a big fan of these Auxbeam. I'll put the affiliated Amazon links in the description. I get a little kickback from Amazon. Helps me support the channel through you guys, which I very much appreciate. But Auxbeam has been very good to me throughout the years. The price you pay for what you get. So is Nightlight. Nightlight's another really good brand. So I have that rear light, right? I have power going to my auxiliary fan. That's just a 12 volt fan for a car that I spliced in. I have, what else do I have on here? I have this guy. This is an auxiliary front light control that will plug into the harness on here somewhere. I have the other end of that plug, but that basically feeds any accessory lights. So in this case, I have two Auxbeam lights on the front of my snowblower. That's what this port provides power to through the switch. And I have the front tractor Auxbeam on here. One day I'm actually going to weld a nice bracket on there now that I'm happy with the placement, but for now I've just been too lazy and it's just fine. So in here we have again Auxbeam. This is a really nice control panel. This thing has been functioning pretty much perfectly since I installed it, and there's just enough room if I lower the hood here where you can mount it on this flat part of your dash. You can still see all of your gauges. I just feed the control cable through the opening in the boot, down, crossed under, up into the engine bay, and back into that box. But if we go here, if I just turn this on here, it might be hard, a little hard to see, but they light up blue. So I got cargo, that's light in the back. I got same thing with light in the front, strobe up top. The cubes, this is kind of what I use for my front auxiliary camera. Like I said, we can go over the camera here separately, but there you go. There's camera. Then my fan. That comes comes in nice both in summer and winter. Then we have two here I don't use. I never did put a stereo in here, although you can. And then I just left an accessory switch which isn't hooked to anything either. But basically this is just a control panel up here. The real magic happens under the hood. So this guy gets a positive 12 volt, negative feed from the battery, which I just have down there. And then you can kind of, I think these are good for max 20 amp fuses maybe. I just kind of have these nice wire harnesses I made. Some go in the cab, some go in the back of the tractor. But it just gives a nice place to get one, access to it, and two, it's really not in the way of anything. I still got access to the windshield washer bottle, the radiator, the even more importantly maybe this screen, which I could probably clean from somewhere here. Let's just get that out. Well, we'll have to blow that out. We'll do some maintenance on that. But you can still get that out with this position here, which I really liked. When I made my transit through the engine bay here, I just drilled 2 holes right in the center. That lined up nicely with this bar, support bar. And if you want, you can see it. And I just sleeved in some leftover stuff I had. And then from there, it just goes down. Whoop, down in there. And like I said, through and wherever they go. I think I have one circuit that for the fan that actually goes under the floor there, but you just got to get creative with it. They're not super easy to run wires, and they're very tight when you get this 1025R with a cab. Trust me, believe me, it is 15 pounds of shit in a 2-pound bag, no doubt. All right, so that is my banked, switched, and some of the accessories. I also have had a lot of luck, like I said, with this Dohonest camera. I have this mounted on a RAM support. That's probably the most expensive thing out of everything. I wanted to make sure, I know like when you suction cup things like that, it's hard to find good ones that stick. These RAM ones aren't perfect, but I think in the 2 years I've had this installed, it's fallen maybe once compared to that guy which loses suction maybe once or twice a year. But all said and told, pretty happy with that setup. So that Dohonest cam, you can set it up. It's not perfect for a tractor. The aspect ratios are a little wrong, but that runs up the side. I poked a hole in here, ran a nice little grommet, and bolted the camera out this way. Hardest part is going to be lining that up. I wanted to be able just to see, this is normally on here, this is my weight rack. I think this is a heavy, it's a heavy hitch with I think like 720 pounds of counterweight, and then a homemade stand that I just keep on for extra weight, but it's nice if I want to drop it, it's just kind of always there. Again, the camera is synced up in cold of winter, heat of summer. It's done me well over the years. In fact, I still have the protective film on that one. That's not even scratches. You can kind of see it up there, but it's bright enough where it doesn't matter. Okay, let's shift gears here, talk about some of the mechanicals I've done on this. Now, I did order this tractor, to be honest. One of the things I wanted, just knowing from YouTube how tight these were, so I had them put these back here, these hydraulic ports, and those go down under the tractor and actually end. I had them end at these hoses here, so I could switch pretty easily, even with the loader on, from having auxiliary rear hydraulics if I wanted some on the bucket to rear front hydraulics. For instance, the snowblower, yep, they all have the hydraulic turner for the chute, and they all have the front hydraulic up down. So those use the 2 hydraulic circuits that normally go to the loader. But I'm lazy, and winters in Wisconsin, terrible. Oh, that's good. Nope. This was a couple failed projects, but I got it. You just got to keep trying. Whatever. It's not like this was a brand new, yes it was, snowblower unit that I butchered up. That's okay. It took me a while to get this right. I don't even know what hydraulic cylinder this is. This one might have came off Amazon too. If I can find the link, I'll throw the affiliate down in the description. But it's a 4-inch stroke. So I put this up so now I can use that auxiliary hydraulic circuit and run this chute down for really light fluffy snow, or all the way up if I need to shoot further, have some heavier snow, or I don't want that restriction. So with all that being said, actually I can undo these, because I know I'm going to have to hook that snowblower up. And then these I normally, it's getting a little cold out here, but I'll bend these up all the way. They give you this little bracket. It's not the greatest. It's also hard to find a good John Deere dealership. I will be honest with you, my local ones here are not the greatest. They're kind of a-holes, if you get what I mean. But I did make them at least build me the tractor that I wanted. And so to control those auxiliary hydraulics, I do have what John Deere gives you, right? It's just the auxiliary buttons on the side of the shifter. This is in stock, I guess you call it. John Deere shifter, not shifter, hydraulic arm, lever, actuator. You know, it goes, it's technical. But you can also see I have this gray wire coming down, and that's because I wanted, for the summer, when this gets used the most, you can see my top link is actually a hydraulic cylinder with, I think this is like a stop block, so hydraulic pressure doesn't bleed off one way or another. I might have to hook that. That should be okay. It's not terrible. I might suck that a little bit yet. In fact, let's go do that now. Since we're here, and you can see it. It's also very helpful to color code stuff. Like this is, I got green electrical tape on this one. Which one is? This green goes up top. Okay, there's that one. One-handed stuff for YouTube is tricky. Okay, the orange one has orange electrical tape on it. That one goes to the bottom. All right, let's start this up here. I'll take care of that. All right. So that other wire you saw comes out right here into this box, and these are just some random push buttons I had, but it gives me the ability to adjust this cylinder from back here when I'm hooking up implements that might require different angles and all that. Instead of having to run around the cab and kind of guess, I can just sit here and go back and forth with those. Tunk. So I don't know about you guys. If you guys have a 1025R, is yours as cold-blooded as this one? Like, I swear I can let these glow plugs go for 3 or 4 times, and she just shakes like a rag doll, puffing black smoke until about 15 or 20 seconds in. But that's what I got going on here. That gives me control to the back. So what else do we want to talk about? Oh, let me go around, get a panel removed. I'll show you the fuel modification I did to this as well. Alright, I just did it off screen because it's kind of a pain with the cab and the insulation they try to put in here for that side panel. It's a little bit much to get off. There's a little bit better look at the side of the engine. Okay, so if we look in here, where is my fuel line? So there, back in here, we have 2 fuel lines, you can see. Now this was a quote-unquote stock. I almost said GM. Sorry, they're so similar, sometimes I forget. But you can see that we have that fuel filler air. And John Deere and all their infinite wisdom. Right up here where this valve is, this used to be where the inline filter went. And it was just a bear to replace because there's no valve. It was just a filter. And you just have to try to pinch this hose off, and there's very little room in this hose to get a pincher on. It just sucked. So mod number 1 of the fuel system, fuel shutoff valve. And then you can kind of see both of those. One goes up right there. That's why you don't see it coming out. It goes up. The other one goes to the engine. So one to the tank, one from the tank, one to the engine. And those come up in here. And this is actually I think this is from a Yamaha outboard. It's a fuel filter. But I just have it mounted on a bracket, L bracket back here. And then you actually have access to a very nice high flow fuel filter that's right up in your teeth. So this is very easy to replace. And just shut the shutoff valve off, replace that filter. This has an electric fuel pump, so you never have to really worry about priming it. That's been very good. First year of that, super happy with it. Okay, we got that all buttoned up again. So that's my my better fuel filter system, and there's a bunch of videos on that. I actually got this idea from another YouTube video. If I can find that link, I'll give that guy's credit, and you can watch his video specific to that. Yeah, getting a sinus infection, getting sick out here. Thanks, Wisconsin. And then, as I've been told, that's me. It's fine. Although I do what I want. Well, this is just a 5.56 ammo can. I think that's what that is. It's a smaller ammo can, but very crude brackets that it's probably the only actual physical stuff I've done. Like that's a very poor weld, but I did weld those on the back of the tractor to stick this out far enough where I can open this window, vent it if I wish, and still have some actual tool storage, because when you have the cab, you lose your tool storage. But this is actually nice. It's very solid on there. It served its purpose. It's good for keeping old socks, like I said, to wipe hydraulic lines down, etc. Alright, let's get this snowblower on. My fingers are cold. Alright. We're going to get this front hitch. My dog probably gonna do this. You want it again? Watch. It's weird. A retriever, he just keeps retrieving. There he goes. Alright, let's get this in here. Now, with as many times as I've done this, you think that I remember how this goes, but I don't. But I do know we got to take this pin out. These are just big keychain rings, whatever you want to think of them. It's the main support pin that goes through here. Now, you'll notice there's a clip in here, plug. This is the PTO defeat plug. Basically allows you to go in reverse with the PTO on, something like that. In here, suppose I can try to take you in there. Here's the other end of it, and this clip can be a bit of a bear to get off. So we're going to get that clip off, make sure we're ready to plug in the clip from that guy. That's Odin. He's a good boy. You know, there is like a keyway in here, and that is where these are going to ride. These two nubs on either end. So let's get this plug off first, I guess. Oh, I broke it. Good. Oh, there it is. So now it's out of its holder. There's the other end of the plug. Didn't break it. Sorry I freaked out. So we're going to slide these nubs into the keyway, either side. That's probably the most awkward part. Once those are in position, you can basically rotate this up, and that's going to align the holes for the big pin. Feed that all the way through. I said feed that all the way through. And we'll put the key ring retainer back on here. I'll show you what that looks like, bring you in. So this is that bar. It just comes all the way through the other end. Okay. So now this is the plate that stays permanently mounted on the tractor. That is going to grab that. That's where that's going to sit. And those two pins on the bottom are going to grab and lock into these holes. Now, let's take a look at something once. On the snowblower, this is why I put it on the pallet. Okay, because it keeps it just high enough up where I should be able to almost drive right into this. Get it close, hook up the hydraulics, and just pick this whole thing up off the pallet in one shot. Instead of, you can see this can come apart again. Right, so you have the hitch adapters that we just put on. And then we have this hydraulic unit, I guess, if you want to call it that. because if you didn't, maybe you don't have a snowblower, maybe you have a snow plow, or a broom attachment. All those get attached right here. All right. The next step, let's go get the drive shaft in. That'll be the next unfun part. So I just went to pick up the drive shaft, or the drive shaft, PTO shaft. This is the mid to front PTO shaft. So connects the mid PTO on the tractor, and then that actually will tuck into there. That's ultimately what drives the front attachment. Snowblower drives that PTO, drives the augers and all that. Well, we're gonna go through here and get some grease into these. The rest of the tractor did go through a full 200-hour maintenance. I like to do that at 50 hours on these. It's just, you'd be surprised what you pull out of the hydraulic, magnetic filters, etc. Oh, okay, that one's got plenty in it. There's the other one. Okay. Oh. All right. Okay. Throw a little bit on here. And grab a paper towel. Get a little grease on there. Just helps get it fed. Keeps it from corroding. I guess fed through there. Keeps it from corroding. All right. That should be. Yeah. Okay. All right. Now we'll go underneath the tractor. You can come underneath there with me. We'll try to get this. Oopsies. There, I'll try that. I don't know what you can see under there. That's okay. You also have to believe me. Oh, I'll bring you in here. Well, I'm a big guy and this is hard. All right. We'll go that way first. So it's important for this to work. Well, just come here. There. Better. So it's important we get this end of the shaft in first, because that is going to free up enough room for us to get it connected to that mid PTO shaft. Yeah, I know that one right there. Sorry. It's tight up there. Okay. Let me get this in there. Let's see if I can bring you along for that ride. I don't know how else is going to work. Hey. Oh, I was going to say. First time is a charm. So this can be tricky because there is this pillow bearing here that's, what is it, 8-sided dish, octagon in shape, and then there's one on the other side. So if you get one fed through here, sometimes you have to play the game of spinning this around until you can line up with the outside one, and you're good to go. Let's see if I can. And on this side is just your standard John Deere PTO shaft. Oh. Give me a little bit back now. Don't be fighting me. No, it's fighting, you know. That's fine. Give me just a second. Here, you can watch me struggle maybe from this angle. There we go. Give her a couple shakes. That's, that's all it takes. So, that's locked on there. Just to show you how tight this guy really is, there's your steering arm. And there's that. So that's about what you have at the end, sticking out. You can see it's not engaged right now, so we can rotate it. You can give it a few good shakes. That's probably the hardest part of this whole snowblower fiasco, if you ask me. But now we have something on the end we can hook that into, and we're gonna give that guy a little grease here. I'll set you back up on the tripod. We'll get this backed up, clipped in, and test everything out, grease everything again. Inside there's a few zerts, I think, inside that chute as well. There, definitely don't forget to hit that PTO shaft in the right spot, or that's a bear. But again, that's what's nice about the pallet. Lift it up, drive it forward on the pallet, create some separation enough to get this PTO shaft put where it needs to be. And you're just blindly lining it up, because there's just enough room for a big guy to get like 1.5 hands in here. So it's not the easiest process in the world. Maybe guys who do this for a living are like, yeah. Seems to work. Okay. That. I don't know. Did it work? Leave it in the comments if the auger works and the lights came on. Thanks. More greasing. While we're on the topic of greasing, I'm running Mobil. I believe this is Mobil 1 Full Synthetic Ultra. They're red grease. I've used it for a long time, and all my equipment seems to do the job. But basically, there's a ton of grease in here. There we go. Just finally got a little bit coming out of the relief there. Go through into this side. This is like an oiled housing in here. None required. Oh, there we go. Getting some pushed out there. So it didn't take too much, but I always like to check. So these are expensive pieces of equipment for sure. Let's see. Handle these fittings. Yep. Okay. And this is just what are you? It's my Milwaukee 2446-20 M12 grease gun. Really like it. It's got plenty of power for what I need. Definitely makes life a little easier. So that should be our snowblower attachment complete. Ooh. Well, it looks like we got that tractor ready and the snowblower on just in the nick of time. Guess the weatherman isn't completely wrong this time. Oh, this is life in the upper Midwest. But I hope you enjoyed some of this content. I know it was a little bit all over the place, but I know we were getting into this season and I wanted to get this video out for those that have a John Deere tractor, or really any tractor or equipment like that that they use to prepare for winter. We'll have another video coming up on our regularly scheduled time slot of around Friday at 3:30 when it gets released, and that'll hopefully be the final part of our engine assembly. But until then, thanks for watching Beyond the Manual. If you're liking what you're watching, please hit that like and subscribe. I got some snow to move. So until next time.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take